16th, 2020 meeting of the Forsyth County Tourism Development Authority Board to order. We have a quorum, so I think the first thing we need to do is approve minutes from prior meetings. That's how you roll through slides in a quick way.
There we go.
Sorry. There he is. Yeah, there he is. Yeah.
So has everybody had a chance to review last month's meeting minutes? Without objection, is there a motion to approve and accept?
A motion.
All in favor?
Second, McIntosh.
All right, we got it. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, I hear. All right, thank you. From a chair's report, just a couple of things that I need to cover, and obviously we're fortunate that Rich has the business side of this covered, so I won't go into much of that detail. But there are a couple of board structure issues that are at play. And I see James Williams there as our vice chair, as also the chair of the nominating committee. The board chair and vice chair positions have come due. It's a 2-year term that ends in October. So we need to get a process in place to select a new chair and a new vice chair. So James, if I can charge you with standing up the nominating committee.
Okay.
And get that here in the next couple of weeks so we can address that need. If anybody has volunteers or has an interest in one of those positions, please let James know. But we'll hope to do that in short order. And once we do that, then we'll revisit committee assignments. I know as we move ahead, Rob Hill, as I talked the other day, is going to explore the world of retirement in the coming months. And he has served diligently as the chair of our marketing committee. So not necessarily an October push, but when we look at new committees, maybe in November, we'll need to look at a chair for that committee. So other than that, Rich, I'm good. That's all I have to report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. James, Ceci will reach out to you to look at some dates the next couple of weeks to get the marketing committee together. We need to Jeff, you and I can talk about whatever committees you want to be on, but
sure.
Mrs. Burke had been on it, so I just moved you into that slot so we can expedite a meeting in the short order, as the chairman indicated, to move on some of the things that we need to move on.
Good by me.
Rich, and let me just chime in. I think it's appropriate on the nominating committee that our representative from City Council and our representative from the County Board of Commissioners, who are two of our leadership organizations, are represented on that committee. So, Councilmember McIntosh, we look forward to your participation.
Me as well.
Good. And Commissioner Wisenhunt is in fact on that committee as well. So they are both on the nominating committee. With that said, we do have one action item. I have shared this information with the chairman. We need to get a motion to authorize the chair to actually sign a new contract with an addendum. I'm sorry. An addendum to the contract with Simple View regarding our CRM licensing fee. It actually has been reduced because we now have fewer employees, fewer users, so we're actually going to be saving $2,400. But because it's a different number on the contract, on the addendum, the chair will need to sign it again. So I do need a motion to authorize the chair to sign the addendum to the contract for Simple View.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second?
Second, McIntosh.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I do have a question for Jennifer. This is on a Winston-Salem, Visit Winston-Salem letterhead. Is that appropriate, or should it be on a Simple View document?
It can be on Visit Winston-Salem's
because as the chair, you can sign it on behalf of the FCTDA doing business as Visit Winston-Salem. And they have our logo on there.
It's just the logo.
Yeah,
It's actually
just our
from
logo.
Simple View.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's Simple View's document.
It is.
Correct.
It is
It's Simple View's document.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I know the chair has a hard stop at about 3, so we're gonna move along as quickly as possible. If you allow me, as the board, to take a 2-minute break from the COVID conversation, I'd appreciate it. Every September at this board meeting, we have an opportunity to update you on statewide tourism numbers from the prior calendar year. So we have received a few weeks ago from the state the 2019 total tourism numbers and economic impact numbers for Winston-Salem and the state. At first, I wasn't going to share these numbers in light of what's going on, but I think it's important to show you the economic impact that tourism had pre-COVID, again, in 2019. I think it just reinforces what we're all talking about and what we are working towards. It has a huge impact on our community, and we did hit a milestone with visitor spending. You can move to the next slide, Ceci. Visitor spending in 2019 for Winston-Salem, Forsyth County came in at a little over $1 billion. So we did hit the big B in 2019, which is a little over almost 2 million visitors came to Forsyth County in 2019. You can see the impact on this slide of about $1 billion. That's about a 5.5% increase in spending over the prior year, 2018. So you can see the nice trajectory we had been on the past several years. We all know what 2019 will look like. As a point of record, I will share those numbers with you, 2019, next year. I'm sure none of us are going to be as happy as we are at looking at these, but nonetheless, it just reinforces, and I think the next slide also reinforces the impact that the travel industry has on our community right here. With the $1 billion spending, the big number also is tax receipts. About $58 million in tax receipts went to the state, and $19 million in tax receipts in 2019 from visitors, local, county, and state taxes collected from the tourists that come here. So, well, you know, that's another significant number that obviously both the city, Mr. McIntosh and Ms. Wisenhunt, and Paul's on the call are well aware of, that tax receipts are going to be an issue that, and the visitors pay a big chunk of that. So we had a good year in 19. We'll hopefully get through 20 and get into 21 and start getting our numbers back up again. But I did want to share that with you. Moving along now to, pardon me, this current year. I wanted to share with you, this shows you what tax receipts were, actual tax receipts in July of $169,000 was our portion. You can see what our expenses were, about $184,000. So we needed to use about $15,000 from fund balance for July. Paul sent out prior to this meeting a document to all of you. Paul, thank you, which covers all this information as well. But I just wanted to share with the board so you can see how we're tracking and managing our revenue and expenses every month. And every month we'll share this with the board as well. We do know from a conservative projection of the STAR weekly report that we will see tax receipts to the CVB, to us, in August of probably about $180,000. Okay, with that said, you see our expenses there at $165,000. Well, basically, we'll be putting back into fund balance the $15,000 that we took out in July. So, but the point here is that not only is obviously Paul tracking this every month, we're tracking all of our expenses against our revenues every month. We'll share this document with the board every month so you can see how we're proceeding and what our fund balance looks like throughout the year. Any questions on that? I'm sorry. And again, thank you, Paul, for providing the updated info as well. Talking about some.
One of the things I'm trying to show the board is we typically during this time of year build up funds. And it happens that this year we had kind of the reverse action of that. We actually are in $160,000 worse situation than we were last year. So that's one of the things I want to monitor is how we perform in terms of getting our fund balance up so we can pay for the winter months when we don't make much. So we're doing a little bit different analysis, but I think they're pretty complementary.
Thank you. Moving along, I wanted to share with the board, we talked a little bit about this in the past, but I wanted to give you some updates on some opportunities of CARES Act funding that we are getting and have secured. As I mentioned once before, I think last month, we did submit an application to Forsyth County to receive some of the coronavirus relief funds. We've submitted a proposal for $77,745. That would be for marketing, advertising, seasonal marketing and advertising for the rest of this calendar year. My understanding is that the county commissioners will make a decision on that. We're hoping for next week at the Thursday meeting. So we still haven't received, if you will, confirmation on that. We have gotten confirmation and have received money via the state in from two different mechanisms. We received a $100,000 marketing co-op credit. So we are getting $100,000 worth of marketing, advertising, heavy digital marketing for consumers between now and the end of this calendar year through some of the marketing channels that the state is using. But there will be, our ads are ads that will also be talking about the CDC protocols and traveling safe to Winston-Salem. Marquita will share a little bit more with you on that. But we're going to get $100,000 worth of marketing and advertising visibility over the next few months up through December through a source of resources through the state. We are also going to be getting some resources. Actually, you'll see it here. It's $15,000 to the North Carolina Travel Industry Association. Those dollars are actually coming to us through the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina. Those dollars are being, if you will, coming through that funnel. We're receiving $15,000 from them, and that's direct payment, $15,000 to offset our expenses over the next few months through December 30th. There, we're going to be using those dollars more on the group, convention, and sports side, including doing 3 virtual meeting planner trade shows. One is scheduled for October, 1 November, and 1 December, or maybe 2 November, 1 December. But we're working that through with the state for national, regional, and some state meeting planners. So that's positive. It's also going to help us produce some materials to do some of the marketing on how we are preparing our convention center as it relates to the new protocols for coming out of the virus with social distancing and those types of things. And finally, we are working with the state, with the city. This has been now an in-kind service. They're using their producers to produce what will end up being probably a 3-minute video on all the new protocol and procedures that we have implemented at the Benton Convention Center for social distancing, the new safety guards that we have in place, and things like that, so that we can conduct conventions and meetings at the Benton in a safe, clean environment for our attendees. and that is being worked on currently, and the goal is to get that done in time for the virtual trade shows to share with the meeting planners. And so we have gotten some assistance from the county, the state, and the city. We greatly appreciate it, and obviously these dollars are going to be extremely helpful. We do have to spend all these within the next few months by the end of this calendar year, but I hope it gives us some good positioning going into next calendar year.
I have faith in Marquita that she can figure out how to spend that money.
It's pretty much already spent, Mr. Chairman. Actually, the consumer stuff is all spent. We're still working through some things on what we can be doing to promote the convention and group side of the market with the $15,000. All right. Moving right along, just an update on what's coming out of, or what's not coming out of the governor's office. Phase 2.5, September 4th, we went into phase 2.5, where you saw that the governor increased mass gatherings from 10 to 25 people inside and 50 and outside. The big change, positive change, was definitely the museums and aquariums opening up at 50% capacity. We have still have not been able to get the governor to move on the mass gatherings. We've had numerous meetings with our lobbyists. We're at a point that it is, I'm not trying to sound political, but the decisions that are being made are not even closely to being rational. The reality is, this weekend I can have a dinner party at my house of 25 people. My house is 3,000 square feet, but I still can't put more than 25 people in a 110,000 square foot convention center. I don't understand it. No one in our industry understands it. But the word in Raleigh is these things are not going to move or change until after the election. That's where we are. That's the environment we're in, and we'll continue to move along in that regard. There has been some movement on the sports side. Go to the next slide, please. Came on out of North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. Indoor facilities for sports are now going to be viewed similar to that as gyms, where you can do a 30% capacity. And for larger indoor venues with capacity, a macro capacity of over 500, we can start getting 25 people in per room. We talked about changing the Benton into a sports venue, and perhaps we could get some more people in there. But with that said, it still doesn't apply to convention and meeting facilities. Hotels are still left out on this thing. The next governor's press conference is October 2nd, Friday the 2nd. So we'll see what he moves at that point. I'd like to let the board know that we are planning to open or reopen the visitor center on Monday, October 5th. We have in place plastic protecting shields, stanchions to keep people separated, hand sanitizer. We're taking all the appropriate protocols for a safe reopening of the visitor center. We are seeing more people come to the visitor center. Obviously, we've not been open, but the state has opened up their visitor centers. We're seeing more people getting information from our brochure racks that are outside the building. So we are going to move forward unless there's anyone has an issue, or unless we hear something from the governor on October 2nd that would persuade us not to open. But at this point, we're going to plan to open up on Monday the 5th. With that said,
Rich, this is CJ. If I can just jump in for 1 second on the sports side, I also will try not to be political, but I will echo from our end, all the North Carolina minor league baseball teams have a lobbyist together, and all the information has been identical to what you said. That really no answers as to why with a lot of the guidelines, and just a lot of kind of finger pointing in different directions, but no compromising. One area that we've been able to find that we will be able to operate and get a few more folks in the ballpark, because right now we're still limited to 50, which is less than small restaurants in our huge facility. One area that they have stated that it seems like we are within our rights to operate, and the Charlotte Knights have already done this. Each one of our concession stands is technically a restaurant. And so they have said that they do understand that technically we could have 50 people that they would allow per restaurant within our ball. So we could essentially get up to 250, which obviously would still be extremely safe. So I don't know how many areas the Benton Convention Center has, but basically everything that is tested by the health department as its own food service area is technically its own restaurant.
Okay, thank you.
I can bring a hot plate, no,
Yeah. we put some hot plates and microwaves in some of the meeting rooms. Might that qualify for a restaurant?
I don't know if you can create new restaurants, but the existing food service areas apparently are a way that we can operate.
Okay.
That's interesting for football stadiums, though.
That could be interesting, yes, for football stadiums. And actually, I'm just thinking right here, even at the Brookstown Inn, Dana, with your restaurant, Cotton Mill.
Yeah.
So
I got the same thing. I got my attorney, he's with the regional group that does the COVID, they do the support for the whole region. And his interpretation is that if you have a restaurant certified kitchen, which I do, then the serving areas that are an extension of your restaurant space would qualify for the 50% capacity rule as a restaurant. The difference is a lot of us have our own definition of what is a restaurant and what isn't. You know, if you're open 9 to 5, whatever your posted hours are, and you go in and sit down, but that's not the definition of restaurant in the executive order. So by definition of restaurant in the executive order, if you're a food dining establishment, exactly what CJ is saying, the seating areas is an extension of that restaurant, and that is the qualifier.
Hey, let's not try and litigate the legal aspects of this. I think it's worth something that maybe Rich, you and Ben want to work out with guidance from city council and city attorney. I think I would caution us to be too creative in our approach, but we need to be a little creative.
We need to be creative. We're at that point, I think. That's my opinion.
Well, Dana, you know, for what you want to do in your venue, yeah, I just, when it comes to the Benton Convention Center and city-owned facilities, let's make sure we get the right kind of guidance and counsel. But
sure, yeah.
For you and everybody else who has a hotel, if you can get creative, more power to you.
Yes, John, wise commentary. Thank you. You're right. I'm going to turn it over to Christian to get you up to speed on some of the things that are going on in the convention and group sports side as well.
Thanks, Rich. Just a couple of quick updates. I think probably most exciting, we actually had the opportunity to do our first live event with customers this week. So Karen Wall went to the ANC golf tournament. We were a whole sponsor there, met with 65 golfers. It was great just to reconnect with a lot of our clients in person, and then even have discussions about future years. So we got a great lead for 2022 from a state association out of that, and more to come. We are, as many of you are aware, we've talked about in the past, the Travel Back Rewards, which is on our website. We've obviously been communicating that on phone calls with clients. We're doing e-blasts as well, pushing the hotel incentives. So we have a piece that's geared more towards larger conventions and a piece that's geared more towards groups that can be self-contained in hotels. So certainly looking for some positive feedback on that from planners, and some there's some terms on those incentives that vary based on the property, but hopefully we'll be able to grab some smaller short-term business from that promotion. We did launch the Meeting Max housing site. This is the site that we use for National Black Theater Festival to manage individual reservations for festival attendees that are coming in to just enjoy the festival. So not the performers, but actually just leisure guests coming to enjoy the festival. We have not launched it this early before, but worked with the festival on that. And we've gotten great feedback so far, a lot of reservations being made, particularly in our downtown properties. But it's great to see that excitement for the festival. And that's also led to smaller groups that are looking at booking group business to enjoy the festival in 2021. So certainly some things to look forward to. We are continuing to rebook pieces of business that were lost during the pause in over the course of 2020. And so far, we have 8 signed contracts for the rest of this fiscal year, mostly coming in the second quarter of 2021. So looking forward to getting that business back on the books. So 19 signed contracts for about 4,500 room nights so far, all very positive. A couple of other updates as we move to the next slide. We have mentioned this at last month's meeting, but the RODS facility has broken ground. We shared some images with you last month. You can clearly see the work is in progress. Walls are in the process of going up, all very positive, and they are planning to open up June 1st of 2021. That's be over 100,000 square foot facility that will be able to do basketball and volleyball and other sports there. It's a great multi-sport complex. Their representative, their facility manager, general manager, Lane Newsom, actually went with us to a sports conference last year and really started pushing, promoting this facility with us. He has contacts from the industry as well. He's been in the industry for a long time on the sports side. So I think this will be a positive addition, but certainly something we won't necessarily see room nights really being generated for until summer of 21 or fall of 21. But excited to see where that is in the process. Also wanted to share with you some client feedback that we've received just in over the last couple of weeks, the last month or so, and how our clients are managing with everything going on, and how we're working with them through virtual meetings and other things. So first, I just wanted to bring up the example of the North Carolina Association of CPAs. All their fall meetings are virtual meetings, but we have a great relationship with their meeting planners, and they've asked us for promotional videos or commercials that they can play during breaks in their virtual meetings to really push Winston-Salem. We think that's a great opportunity for us, doing it free of charge and just wanting to be a good partner because they value the relationship they have with us. And I know some of you have seen the Zoom backgrounds that we've been using. We've had some clients, they've used Zoom backgrounds from Winston-Salem when they're conducting their meetings that were originally scheduled for Winston-Salem, just to kind of keep our city at the forefront of everyone's mind. Rich has mentioned the hybrid meetings in the past. With the governor's latest announcement, the Grand Lodge Masons was one of those last conventions we had for September that we're holding out, hoping for the numbers to be, mass gathering limits to be increased number-wise. It did not, but with the latest change to having 25 people indoors, they're actually bringing their executive leadership team up to Winston-Salem in September for their meeting, and they're going to do the rest of the meeting electronically from a hybrid standpoint for their membership. So it's not the size of the same convention that we had, but certainly nice to have that leadership here and have some folks staying in our hotels as part of that convention, which is positive. And then later on this fall, from a convention standpoint, we have the North Carolina Government Financial Officers Association scheduled to come in November. That's going to be about 300 room nights staying at the Twin City Quarter. That event right now is kind of on the fringe of will it happen or not. They've told us that while they were looking to have about 150 people, currently the limit is 25 for indoors. If they can get that number up to 100, they'll move forward with the meeting. If they can't, then they're going to have to either postpone it or move to a virtual format. So that's something that we're obviously kind of monitoring as we move forward. We really need to have an idea, at least the month of October, what's going on, so the planner has enough time to plan that meeting, should that happen. So that's something that we're monitoring. From a sports standpoint, next month we've got a couple of lacrosse tournaments that are going on. You'll see here an image try a pumpkin classic, which is at BB&T Sports Park. They're coming back again at the end of October, and we've got a new tournament, Southern Lacrosse Showcase, that's coming the second week of October, which is also going to generate somewhere in the ballpark between the two tournaments. We anticipate about 1,000 room nights. That's very positive in terms of amateur sports coming back. Again, it's multiple fields there, so the outdoor spectator limits are per field and not per facility. So that's positive. We can get more folks coming into our community that way. And then we're working on another large lacrosse tournament for June of 21. So June could be very strong for us as a destination. In other sports news, the North Carolina USA Archery Group did their event here with us this past February. They're coming back again in 2021. But with everything going on, they've actually they're going to extend their time in Winston-Salem at the fairgrounds and make it a national event. So we'll have about 200 more archers coming to the area, which is also very positive for us. And of course, archery not being a team sport doesn't necessarily generate the same number of rooms that lacrosse does, but is easier to manage with the indoor regulations as it relates to sporting events. So that is my report from a sales and perspective.
Any questions for Christian? Okay, Mark, we'll come in and move over to Marky now.
Just real quick, we'll go through and give an update for you. This was in your board report as well as in the latest issue of News and Notes that we sent out to you last Friday. But it's worthy of speaking again about the great news that we worked with the Forbes.com team to supply images to support the ranking that we were one of the top 25 cities in the nation as best places to retire. And again, we've put that out in social media as well as News and Notes. We actually have put that on our website in the relocation as well as some other places on the website. And of course, we're putting that out to journalists as well. We also worked with the Local Palette team. Local Palette is based out of Charleston, but they have a very deep and very loyal following readership in the Southeast. Again, we used to advertise with them. They actually gave us a complimentary ad early in the pandemic as well, so we're very grateful. But we got the Cardinal Hotel actually focused in on the editorial, and again, that's about 200,000 readers. This also was pushed on their digital landscape as well. Speaking of digital, and I hope if you have not had a chance to read Christy Tolley's Weekend, The Editor's Escape in Winston-Salem. She was here in early September. Please read it. It will make you feel so proud, and so proud again of the city. It's seriously, we had Christy here 5 years ago for a holiday FAM tour that we had done with the media, and we had worked on getting her back. She expressed an interest in coming back again in August or September. Again, we were a little hesitant with the pandemic situation, but again, it worked out just beautifully, and you can read that in every word, every syllable that she has put in in her article. Again, it's 2.2 million viewers who have the potential to read that, and then she called it out in the actual publication as well to direct people to that online. And of course, we're pushing that out in a very big way. At our marketing committee meeting that we'll talk about at the end, there'll be a note, October 8th, we'll talk about more about what we're doing from a public relations standpoint, from an aggressive and progressive strategic standpoint. But again, that's basically where we've been from an earned editorial. Just to go on to, this is actually a little bit out of order, so I'll jump back to public relations in a minute, but actually, can you go to the next slide and then we'll hop back? Sorry. So on a public relations activity standpoint, last week we actually had another one of our previously hosted journalists, Melody Pittman, actually came in as well. She has a dual residency between Florida, Vero Beach, Florida, and Charleston, West Virginia. And again, we met her at a Travel South showcase a few years ago. And so she's a great social media blogger influencer, as well as a true traditional print journalist. She was in town last week to talk to our partners and experience Winston-Salem for a feature that she's putting in the West Virginia Home and Living magazine that has a really substantial circulation of almost 220,000 readers. So we were very excited about that. There you see a picture of Melody actually talking to Samantha Smith, who gave her a tour and the kickoff of Salem Pathways, which is the actual in-property, not virtual tour of Old Salem, the way that Old Salem is reinventing themselves during a pandemic as well. So we're very excited about helping support that way of touring one of our attractions in Winston-Salem. We worked with the convention sales team to submit an RFP for the Society of American Travel Writers. The Eastern chapter, we actually have some interest from the Midwest Central chapter. Christian, just FYI, we actually just got a reach back from them that they're decided that they would like to have us entertain that again. So they were looking at us for 21. We just didn't feel comfortable with that, so we are working toward 22 and maybe just beyond that in 23 for the next chapter. And again, we were happy to work with the Greater Winston-Salem, Inc., as well as the Wake Forest University fan experience team to provide some awesome B-roll for video to be considered and was used by ESPN's broadcast team for game day last Friday and Saturday. So we're very excited about that coverage, again, with that audience as well. Now, let's hop back to just give you an example, and again, this will be on our agenda for the marketing committee, is how we are supporting and starting to incorporate our safe and hybrid meeting language in our advertising for meeting planners. This is with MPI Carolinas chapter. Christian and his team have been on the board, are on the board, past president even. And again, we are members, the organization is members, and so through that membership, we receive a series of digital full-page ads. This is actually a digital full-page ad. It wouldn't fit on the slide, but this is basically gives you an idea of how we're positioning Winston-Salem, the Benton Convention Center, which we were talking about before, and how we have the safe and the cleaning best practices protocol, as well as the configurations that meet the hybrid meeting setups that most meeting planners are looking for. So again, we're really trying to start pushing that in a very big way. You can also see that we are a proud partner of the Count on Me NC, and again, that emblem and that badge, if you will, is very prominent on all of the advertising that we've been given through the grant that Rich was talking about, as well as in the Visit NC Co-op. So speaking of the Visit NC Co-op, as Rich mentioned, Visit North Carolina actually did unveil the opportunities that we had to partake in their marketing cooperative recovery plan. So we actually did go through, and John, yes, it was a wonderful exercise that made us feel almost normal, actually, to be able to say that we wanted to strategically pick digital as well as a blend of print advertising and some in-state as well as some regional publications. Very heavy on digital for two main reasons. One, because that's where a lot of our audiences are reading and getting their information. Plus, it's something that we could deploy with Visit North Carolina in a very expeditious way. So I'm going to give you just a run through, and again, we'll dive deeper on this in the marketing committee, the strategy behind each of these. But again, we're very thankful to Visit NC for being able to give us a wide variety of strategic marketing placements. This is the digital example. Again, you can see that they all begin October 1st and run through December 30th. We will be exchanging, rotating different creative with different creative headlines that all have a evergreen messaging, but it all goes with the strategic objective of book your getaway, plan your getaway in Winston-Salem now. We are working diligently with our hotel partners to get us their hotel offerings, whether it's a package, whether it's incentive, to populate and push all of these executions, all of these creative opportunities directly to the website and to plan your getaway as well. So again, amazing amount of placement. Let's hop over to the print too. You can see some of the publications that we have been in before, but again, just a great opportunity for us to truly get in and put ourselves in front of our key demographic and geographic audiences. Again, we're back in front of everybody. So it's very exciting to see that we're really here. So again, we're going to tally up for the marketing committee the overall circulation that we're able to hit with these print advertisers as well as the digital. But again, it's in the millions of impressions. And again, we're so glad that we're driving the awareness that Winston-Salem is open. We're a safe and wonderful destination for a getaway. So that's the main push, and book now. So just to hop over then to the marketing CoOps, here's some of the creative that we've deployed thus far, realizing that, again, the team is literally working on the creative right now. I mean, literally, as I'm talking, they're working on the rest of the creative that will be deployed and sent to the Visit and See team as well. Outdoor hiking, dining al fresco, being outdoor adventure, again, wine and dine, again, is all of the different executions that we're working on right now. With the hopeful monies that we may be able to receive through the county, we will also complement that advertising. Creative will complement on a more seasonal level, while our Visit and See marketing CoOp is more of an evergreen. Anytime you want to visit, plan your getaway here too. So again, they'll work in tandem with one another and again, complement one another as well. So you can also see just that Visit and See call out in each of those. It had to be a new campaign. It had to be something that was different than what we had planned to do before because of the CARES Act relief funding to make it qualify for that as well. So again, even the wording on our consumer will match and marry a little bit with the actual copy that we are putting in with the convention as well. It just won't say hybrid meeting configurations or anything like that, but it will call out the safe protocols and best practices. So any questions about?
I just want to follow up too. We are really, really encouraged, particularly the hotel members. We have, we're trying to really push people out of the offices now. Resources. In October, Ronaldo House will be hosting the Tiffany exhibit. At the same time, CETA will be hosting and having a major art exhibit there called Drawn. So there are some good product in some of our museums, and I think I really encourage hotels to communicate and get together with particularly Ronaldo House, with Tiffany, to try to put together some packages, because we're going to be pushing that, that very hard. We have something very specific. It's in the fall timeline when we have to use a lot of these resources before the end of the year. So we are reaching out to hotels. I encourage hotels that are listening today to communicate with us. Let us know you have interest in doing some packaging with things like the Tiffany exhibit. I think that's something that will get consumers' interest.
Marquita or Ceci, can you go back a couple of screens? I just want to understand or throw a question at you.
Which one, John?
Go back.
So one of the CoOp ad, the first or second CoOp ad picture, and I was just curious.
You mean the ads, with the ads themselves, John?
Yeah.
When we were, go back.
Next slide.
No, forward.
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 That one right there.
That. I was just curious, Marquita, your logic of what to me looks like Grandfather Mountain.
That's Hanging Rock, and we work with Hanging Rock State Park. The next one you'll actually with the toast to your history, toast our history, is actually Pilot Mountain as well. And again, we are the urban Asheville. Again, we've heard that. If you've been on the marketing committee for a while, you've heard that from our meeting planning as well. It was just very, very fortuitous that we happened to do our fall photo shoot last year talking about how you can actually have an outdoor experience and a fall experience and a fall hike. Again, this was last fall we had taken advantage of actually capturing the fall pictures. So, I mean, this was just, I mean, it was serendipitous, quite frankly. Yeah. Get the shot.
Okay.
But I think what we're trying to do, John, is in our image is showing things outdoors. I think the consumer's going to be more comfortable seeing an outside, outdoor environment versus a restaurant scene. So we're trying to do things that are outdoors.
Can I also mention, too, that quite frankly, it was made very clear to us by the Visit North Carolina and their marketing and advertising team, as well as through the legislation, and not show an image that has a crowd, that promotes something that is inside, that is a group of a large grouping of people. So
Again, my first reaction was a one of ponder. The fact that it's a Hanging Rock picture makes me a little more comfortable, but it didn't scream Winston-Salem, Forsyth County to me. But I understand. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It is different. I mean, it is different, but that's an experience that you can authentically have. And again, it was just serendipitous that we were doing the fall shoot there.
But by the way, for what it's worth, the tagline that said, "No one can see the future, but from here you get darn close." I love that. That resonated, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you're going to see that run in Our State Magazine November. That's what's running for November, and it pushes that one because that was part of the marketing credit that the grant that we got from our state. We were able to run that one, and it pushes fall getaways specifically. So we love that too.
And this one, Drinking Our History, from what I understand with tax receipts from the ABC stores, this has become a very active activity for us during the COVID era.
Absolutely.
That was actually taken at Jolo, by the way. And that is an authentic view that you can have from Jolo Missouri, which we work with them a lot with journalists and so.
Super. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Paul, I guess we're reaching out to Paul for some guidance and some insight, or do you have this, Rich?
Yeah, let me just make a couple of comments. We're really looking at the period we're in from two directions. We're looking at revenue shortfalls compared to last year and expenditure cutbacks, because the expenditures offset the loss in revenue. So far this year, we're right at $160,000 out of our reserves to operate. So we'll keep coming back month by month and keeping you aware of where we are. But just to emphasize, it's not just a matter of cutting expenditures, it's really watching our revenue picture to see what we can do. But it'll be, I think, more meaningful as time goes by. I'm certainly here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. Rich, anything else you want us to cover, need to make us aware of?
I think the next slide will, I just want to talk about a few of the upcoming meetings. And just some important, well, you can go back. No, it's okay. Again, I just want to emphasize that we are working with our lobbyists, as you heard, CJ is doing the same. We're all getting, there's at least consistency in what's coming out of the governor's office. We're not able to get them to move much on the meetings and gathering side at this point. There is a sense that this again will open up. after the election. I'm hoping that there may be some news at his October 2nd press conference, a little bit more flexibility. They seem to be doing a little bit more on the sports side, which I think is encouraging, and amateur sports. We'd love to have something announced earlier with Wake Forest playing Notre Dame in a couple of weeks. There's an opportunity to definitely put some people in the stands. But we obviously can't count on that. We do have a marketing committee meeting on October 8th. We're going to do that hybrid. We're going to have a meeting. We'd love to have our members meet with us in our boardroom, masked. But I think from an optics standpoint, that I think TDA should start trying to meet. We're in the meetings business. I think we need to do social distancing. But again, I encourage board members, if you're comfortable, to join us on October 8th. Otherwise, what we will do a PowerPoint virtual as well. This meeting will cover a little more detail on the things that we've been doing and working on, and Marquita shared with you today. But we want to talk to the marketing committee too about just different potential scenarios for the spring based on what our projections are. So if we get X amount in, these are the things, what do you think we should be doing versus if we get less than X amount in? So that'll be an important meeting, and then we'll share that information with the full board at the Wednesday, October 21st board meeting. There again, that meeting, the plan is, and I discussed this earlier with the chairman, I'd like to do that masked, socially distanced, but do it at the Marriott as we had originally planned to schedule it. Again, from an optics standpoint, I think it'd be, if we can start meeting, those that are comfortable doing that, I'd like to encourage us to start meeting as a group, understanding and respecting everyone's safe distances and those types of things.
Does any of the, well, just a question to the board, to the pleasure of the board. Is anything that would preclude us from doing this meeting? Right now we have 21 people. We would have to, I don't know from a public gathering standpoint, whether we are required to have an open door, but I would require as the chair that everyone is distanced and masked indoors in that meeting. Is there anything that would preclude people from feeling comfortable and being able to do that? If not, I agree with Rich. We're in the meeting business, and if we can meet face-to-face and lean on our partners at the Marriott to provide us spacing and distance, I would require that the members of the board and any attendees stay masked during that meeting. If not, we would be happy to either conduct it virtually or figure out how to simulcast or whatever we would have to do to make that happen. But I don't want to put anybody in an uncomfortable spot. So unless I hear objection, we'll plan on meeting mask to mask instead of face to face in October.
Hey, John, this is Jeff McIntosh. I won't be able to meet face to face. I've got my wife has got an immune issue that I just need to be super careful about.
Understand.
Okay.
Understand totally.
Yeah, John, I'm in the same position.
Then Rich, let's talk. Let's maybe we're maybe premature. I don't know how we can pull off a, you know, I value having as many people at a meeting, and if that's sitting like this, I know it's different. We're all getting a little more used to it. I appreciate the comment of optics of getting meetings happen, but I want to be respectful for, obviously, health and safety is number one before tax receipts and all that other stuff. So we can talk further, but Jeff and Paul, thank you for mentioning that.
And we will then, CESU will reach out to James, and James will do the
Nominating.
Thank you. The nominating committee meeting virtually. Okay.
All right.
Okay. That's my full report, Mr. Chairman. We are communicating with the hotels every day and weekly. Commission's got a good sense of what's going on out there. We're monitoring, as you know, the tax receipts every week, the STAR report. And I think we have a pretty good handle on the revenue projections coming in. I think October, thanks to Wake Forest and parents delivering their young adults to our great university. We definitely saw a nice jump up in occupancy in October. August. And we also saw, I think we're going to see some jump up and bump up because of the Clemson game as well, with the broadcasting of College Day game here in Winston-Salem. That should help. I'm guessing we may see a little more activity from the media perspective with the Notre Dame game. So those little, it's amazing. Something like that, it's almost like we get 100 more rooms filled and we see this huge bump up in tax receipts. So we'll take everything we can get right now, but we'll continue to keep you up to speed on revenue and expenses, and as things move, hopefully forward and progressively with coming out from the state in Raleigh to get groups back meeting again. But we are, I think, from a marketing perspective, we will be well positioned, I think, as we begin to come out of this thing.
All right, before we wrap up, any pleasure of the board, any other items that the board needs to surface, or comments or thoughts that members want to share?
John?
Yes? Is that?
This is
Gloria.
This is Gloria. I'm sorry, I had to join by phone. I could not get in the Zoom. I'm having some trouble today. I just want to say, I think that everybody who's comfortable should come in person to the meeting. The commissioners have been meeting in person since we started our budget process back in, I don't know, I guess it was June. And we've had great success with it. So I think if folks can see different committees and boards meeting in person, it sends a positive message. And I would like to reiterate, I think I've told you all before that the commissioners have a reopened Forsyth committee that meets every Tuesday. We now have decided to meet every other Tuesday. The next meeting will be the 29th at 11, and we are more or less a lobbying group. We have lobbied the governor on several issues, restaurants, wineries, hair and nail salons, and we have been successful. We used Dr. O and Dr. Priest, and they sign off on our resolutions. They help us develop safe ways to reopen. So if any of you all would like to join those meetings, you're welcome. Just send me your email address and I'll add you to the invite. Thank you.
Thank you. Ceci, maybe if you can get some data on that and send it to the board, that would be great. You know, Rich, given that, I mean, if we can make a meeting happen in person and understand the virtual need for a couple and have that technology work, I don't know how to do that, but I don't want to have a board meeting that excludes someone from a safety perspective. So if we can figure the technology, Rich, let's try and do that.
We will look into that.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, I will, without anything else, I will adjourn the meeting, and I thank you all, and have a good rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Bye.